What happens when absolute confidence meets absolute mastery in a place where no one expects either? It was a Friday afternoon in March 1973 inside Los Angeles International Airport's Terminal 3, where the air carried the sharp scent of jet fuel mixed with burnt coffee, and the constant murmur of boarding calls echoed across polished floors. Travelers moved with impatience, dragging suitcases, checking watches, lost in their own timelines. But near gate 32, something unusual was about to unfold. Around 50 strangers, businessmen, families, flight attendants, would unknowingly become witnesses to a moment that would ripple across decades. And what happened in the next 7 seconds would quietly dismantle everything one man believed about martial arts. The terminal itself felt alive, humming under fluorescent lights that cast a pale glow over rows of molded plastic chairs. A janitor pushed his cart slowly across the floor, wheels squeaking rhythmically, while a child cried somewhere near the windows overlooking the runway. Planes roared in the distance, their engines vibrating through the glass. Near a cluster of seats, not far from the departure board, stood Robert Chang, a man who carried himself with the rigid posture of someone deeply rooted in discipline. He was just over 6 feet tall, broad-shouldered, his black hair neatly combed back, his travel bag resting firmly at his feet. His hands were thick, knuckles hardened from years of gripping jibs and controlling opponents. A 6th-degree black belt in Judo, Robert had spent decades mastering leverage, balance, and force. He had competed internationally, taught seminars across California, and built a reputation as someone who understood combat not as performance, but as structure. He had just come from a training session, still wearing a fitted jacket that barely concealed the density of his frame. His mind was sharp, alert, still operating at the tempo of the dojo. But beneath that calm exterior, something unsettled him. For months, he had been hearing a name repeated in conversations he once dominated. A smaller man, a faster man, a man whose philosophies seemed to challenge everything Robert had built his identity on. Bruce Lee, not far from him, seated quietly, almost unnoticed, was Bruce himself. He wore simple clothing, dark slacks, a light shirt, slightly wrinkled from travel, no uniform, no visible sign of status. His posture was relaxed. One leg crossed casually over the other, a small book resting in his hand. His expression was calm, almost distant, as if the chaos of the airport moved around him without ever touching him. To most people passing by, he was just another passenger waiting for a flight. But Robert had recognized him instantly. Around them, the witnesses were unremarkable in their individuality, but powerful in their collective presence. A flight attendant sipping lukewarm coffee, a businessman flipping through a newspaper, a young couple whispering about their honeymoon plans. None of them came expecting to see a demonstration of philosophy made physical. None of them realized they were about to watch a belief system unravel. Robert's thoughts tightened. He had spent years refining techniques that relied on structure, on grip, on control, and yet here was this man, this smaller, leaner figure, being praised for something intangible. Speed, fluidity, adaptation. Concepts that, to Robert, felt incomplete. His jaw clenched slightly, not out of anger, but out of necessity. He needed clarity. He needed to know. The tension hadn't yet surfaced, but it was building quietly, like pressure beneath still water. Robert stepped forward, his shoes striking the polished floor with deliberate weight. His voice, when it came, was not loud, but it carried. "You are Bruce Lee, yes," he said, just enough volume to draw attention from those nearby. Bruce looked up slowly, closing his book with a soft motion. His eyes were calm, attentive, almost curious. "Yes," he replied simply. There was a pause, a small one. But in that pause, something shifted. People nearby began to listen, without meaning to. Robert exhaled through his nose, then spoke again, this time louder. "I have heard much about your methods," he said, the word hanging with subtle skepticism. But where I come from, we deal with real resistance, real structure. Kung Fu, he hesitated, then finished, is useless against a trained fighter. A few heads turned. Conversations softened. The air itself seemed to lean in. Bruce did not react. No tightening of the jaw, no defensive posture. He simply placed his book beside him and stood up, unhurried. His face held a faint smile, not mocking, not dismissive, just present. Robert interpreted it instantly. Calmness as hesitation, silence as uncertainty. His confidence expanded, filling the space. Bruce spoke quietly, his voice even. Then, show me. It wasn't a challenge. It was an invitation. The words landed differently than expected. Not aggressive, not submissive, just clear. Around them, the witnesses shifted. Someone stood up slightly to get a better view. A coffee cup paused halfway to someone's lips. The ambient noise of the terminal seemed to dull, as if the environment itself was holding its breath. What happened next? None of them were prepared for. They moved to a small open space near the seating area, just enough room to stand without obstruction. Robert adjusted his stance instinctively, feet grounding into the floor, shoulders square. His training activated like muscle memory. Distance, timing, entry points. He had done this thousands of times. Bruce stood across from him, relaxed. No visible stance, no tension. His hands rested loosely at his sides, his weight shifting almost imperceptibly. In the first second, Robert stepped forward decisively, reaching to establish control. His hand moving toward Bruce's upper body, aiming to secure a grip that would dictate the exchange. It was fast, precise, practiced. But before contact could fully form, Bruce moved. Not backward, not away, just slightly offline. By the second, Robert's hand had closed on empty space. A small confusion flickered across his face. Adjust, re-engage. His other hand came forward, quicker now. In the third second, Bruce's hand rose, not with force, but with timing, intercepting the motion before it developed. A light contact, almost nothing, but it disrupted everything. Robert felt it instantly. Not pain, not resistance, just absence of structure. By the fourth second, Bruce had stepped inside Robert's range, his movement so efficient it barely registered. His other hand touched Robert's center line again, not striking, not pushing, just placing. Robert's balance shifted, not dramatically, just enough. In the fifth second, Robert attempted to recover, his body reacting instinctively, trying to reestablish control. But every adjustment he made seemed already accounted for. It was like chasing something that wasn't there. In the sixth second, Bruce redirected again, a subtle turn, a minimal shift of weight. Robert's footing betrayed him, not collapsing, not falling violently, but yielding. By the seventh second, it was over. Robert stood frozen, his body held in a position where any further movement would have been completely ineffective, not pinned, not forced, just neutralized. 7 seconds, that's all it took. 7 seconds from first movement to complete understanding. The silence that followed was heavier than any impact. Someone dropped a cup behind them, the sound sharp against the stillness. No one laughed. No one spoke. Robert's breathing had changed, slightly faster now, not from exertion, but from realization. Bruce stepped back immediately, releasing the moment as if it had never happened. His posture returned to neutral, his expression unchanged. There was no celebration, no acknowledgement of victory, only quiet. Bruce looked at him, his voice calm. "You're very skilled," he said, "but you're announcing every movement before it happens." Robert didn't respond immediately. His mind was replaying the exchange, trying to locate the point of failure. But there was no single point. It was everywhere. Bruce gestured gently, as if explaining something simple. "You rely on structure, Structure creates intention. Intention can be read. He picked up a nearby suitcase lightly, placing his hand against it. "If I push, you resist," he said softly. "But if there is nothing to push against," he removed his hand. "There is nothing to resist." Robert's posture softened, almost imperceptibly. The rigidity that defined him moments ago began to dissolve. Bruce continued, not as a victor, but as a teacher. "Be like water," he said quietly. "It adapts. It does not announce itself." There was no lecture, no performance, just clarity. Robert exhaled slowly, his shoulders lowering. "I didn't see it," he admitted, his voice quieter now. Bruce nodded once. "Now you do." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small card, offering it without ceremony. "Come train," he said. Tuesday evening, around them, the witnesses understood something they couldn't fully explain. They hadn't just seen a physical exchange. They had seen a philosophy revealed. 3 months law. Chair Robert Chen walked into Bruce Lee's training space, not as a challenger, but as a student. The transition wasn't immediate, nor was it easy. Years of ingrained habits resisted change, but the memory of those 7 seconds stayed with him, replaying not as defeat, but as instruction. 5 years later, after Bruce's passing in July of 1970, free at the age of 32, Robert would speak about that moment differently. In a small interview recorded for a local martial arts journal, his hair now slightly graying, his voice steadier, he reflected. "I thought I understood control," he said. "But that day, I realized control without awareness is limitation. He didn't defeat me. He removed what I thought I knew." The story spread quietly at first, carried by those who had been in that terminal. A businessman would recount it to a colleague. A flight attendant would mention it years later in a conversation about unusual passengers. Over time, it became part of martial arts folklore, not exaggerated, not dramatized, but preserved. Robert would go on to integrate principles he once dismissed, blending them into his teaching. His students noticed the difference. Less rigidity, more flow, more listening. Decades later, the airport changed. Terminals were renovated, seats replaced. The exact spot where it happened faded into anonymity. But the moment itself remained, because it was never about the location. It was about what was revealed. The lesson is clear, though it rarely announces itself so cleanly. Mastery is not found in proving others wrong. It is found in removing what is unnecessary. In that brief exchange, 2 paths stood side by side. One built on force, structure, and certainty. The other on awareness, adaptability, and quiet understanding. One seeks to win. The other seeks to reveal. And those who witnessed it that afternoon didn't just see a demonstration. They saw the difference, somewhere perhaps in a forgotten photograph or a fading memory. That moment still exists. A crowded terminal, a confident man, a calm one, and 7 seconds that would outlive them both. But this wasn't the only time someone stepped forward, certain they understood what Bruce Lee represented. And the next encounter would be even more unexpected.